Hey guys, it's the Urban Investor here, back with another video, and today I want to look at VERGE or XVG and see what's happening, what's the hype about. Now VERGE is up around about 95% relative to Bitcoin, that's BTC, and 133% up in terms of USD. So let's find out what's happening and what's driving this coin from being outside the top 50 to jump into the top 20 today. So what you guys need to know about Verge. Now, Verge is essentially a secure and anonymous cryptocurrency built with the focus on privacy. Now, it's based on the original Bitcoin blockchain, but making some improvements and tweaks. It uses multiple anonymity-centric networks such as Tor and I2P to essentially enhance privacy features to protect users against traffic analysis and basically trying to protect your personal freedom, privacy, and you make your transactions confidential. Now, how does it do this? So, as it says there, it uses networks such as Tor and I2P, and what this does is it basically routes the transactional traffic through a number of global servers where each of these servers removes a layer of information so that the previous server in the process cannot actually work out where the original data is from or which network is from. So basically what this means is you can comfortably send and receive transactions on the network with the assurance that the currency trail is virtually untraceable. All of the traffic is encrypted, so your IP address, the data, etc. cannot be accessed or determined where it's coming from. Now this differs from, say, VPNs, because with VPNs, although it appears to be anonymous and traceless, the actual VPN can be tracked and recorded without the actual user knowing. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, when it launched originally in October 2014, it was called Dogecoin Dark, and then it rebranded once it wanted, or I think to basically be a lot more taken seriously. It rebranded to Verge in Feb 2016. As you can see, that's a lot better and a more grown-up name than Dogecoin Dark. And one other key point to note is Verge utilizes multi-algorithm mining support, which improves security and provides equal distribution of coins to miners. Now, this basically means that individuals with different mining equipment will be able to mine, and this basically means there's more of a fair distribution of the coins amongst the mining community. And also, another point to note, Verge is one of the few coins that supports 5 different hashing algorithms. And the key thing here that I'm sure everyone wants to know is what makes it different. Now, there are a lot of privacy coins out there. You've got ZCASH, Dash, MONERO, just to name a few. It's very competitive. These coins are in the top 50 or vastly approaching the top 50, so it's a very competitive space. However, as we know, privacy is something that's massive at the minute, a key focus. With I'm sure you guys have read, Bitcoin isn't as private as we initially thought. You can actually trace the transaction back, as well as with the IRS now getting involved with Coinbase as crypto has become more mainstream. Again, it sort of highlights the importance of having privacy and not being able to be tracked down. So how does it make it different? So Verge, unlike other so-called privacy coins, where these coins log the IP addresses and basically just hide or mask the transactions on the network. However, on Verge, it has a transparent ledger. However, it protects the user identities and locations by using Tor and I2P, as we mentioned, to not actually expose the IP addresses. So it's truly private, and I think on their website they mentioned only Monero is the other sort of coin that currently does this. All of the other privacy coins don't actually do this, and essentially just try and hide the transaction on the network, which means it can be essentially traced back. So it's something to bear in mind. So looking at the roadmap briefly, and the great news is, first and foremost, there are regular releases every quarter, so that's great. I think it shows that Verge are committed to updating the roadmap and giving regular updates, as well as providing catalysts for future pricing increases. So I think the next thing what I want to highlight is this one here, which is I2P Android wallet. Now I think it's providing anonymous mobile transactions, which I think is massive. From my understanding and research, I don't think Monero do this at the minute, and given the world is moving more and more to mobile and away from desktop, I think this could be huge. So I think, again, from the comment section, do correct me if I'm wrong, but based on my limited knowledge, I don't think Monero is in this space at the minute. Second thing I want to highlight is the RSK smart contracts. Now this is Verge going head to head with Ethereum, so I think this will be an interesting solution, given Ethereum is number 2 into the market cap, so there's potential um, cannibalization of that market and opportunity to take some of Ethereum's market, so that should be interesting to see. Now, what are the team like? So this is another interesting thing about Verge. So I think when I went through their website, and again I recommend you guys to do the same, there isn't sort of a vast array of easily readily available information on people that are fixed in terms of the team. A lot of the support and development team is dependent on contribution, so there is a whole host of profiles of all of the contributors to their development and their roadmap. So that's an interesting setup. It's something different that I haven't seen. However, I think there is a potential risk in some respects, because maybe that suggests there's not a good structure or a stable structure is dependent on contribution. So that's something to bear in mind. Now looking at the Verge TA, we can see we've had a monumental run up. This is crazy. Just this candle here alone is 133% of a climb, so we can see how much it's grown in just a week or so. It's crazy. So I think obviously we're in the territories of new highs. I don't like to buy at new highs relative to Bitcoin, and I think where I would expect a potential entry point if we have the pullback, as I'd expect us to have, because anything like this sort of run up where there's going to be a cool down, it's just a matter of time, is roughly at the 50% range. If we have a 50% pullback, which will mean we come back from the 1.4k sat high roughly to about 700 sats. So I think this would be a good entry point. However, we can see with the RSI, we're significantly overbought at the minute. So I think I would definitely keep an eye on this at the minute to see it come down to maybe near the middle again, or obviously if it comes down to the bottom, even better. But wherever that lines up um, with the 700 sat and maybe 250, which is somewhere around this level, but I think it's going to be difficult at the minute. It's just 250 rather here, 300 to 250. So I think I would definitely not get in at this level. I would wait and see when we have a cool down, and yeah, I think a 50% pullback is a potential good entry point, as well as keeping an eye on the RSI. We can see clearly we're far overextended. We can see all of these moving averages are far from these candles, and look at the size of these candles, huge. If you had Verge, great, but if you want to get in, I would wait. In terms of the Verge coins, the supply is capped at 16.5 billion. I think the current circulation is around about 14.5 billion. So we're nearing the final sort of market cap, or coin cap rather. I think roughly, if my memory serves me right from my research, Verge release roughly about 1 billion a year. So I think it's good for the price, obviously having a finite supply. So we could see some significant growth in 2018 and beyond. Now, I know some of you guys like to look at USD. However, I think it's always good to be consistent in terms of BTC or Satoshis, because obviously if we have a massive pump in Bitcoin, it's going to force the Verge price up. So it's better to look at, from my perspective anyway, in my opinion, to look at the BTC comparison. So I think yeah, I'd like to use Satoshis rather than dollars to get an entry point. As always, should you invest, now this is purely my opinion, not financial advice, but let's have a quick summary and take a look. Is there a real world use case? The answer is yes. We've seen it with Bitcoin not being as private as everyone thought and how it sort of set out to be, and there's a real solution and need for a privacy alternative. Again, with Coinbase, IRS, other sort of regulatory bodies getting involved. So if you want real privacy, then there's clearly a demand for it. Now, is there adoption? Again, there's a massive following, it's growing, we've seen a massive price action, there's a massive community behind it, and privacy is in the private eye, or the public eye rather, and we can see with Dash, ZCASH, Monero, just to name a few, there's a massive race for adoption at the minute. Now, is the team experienced? Now I've got a question mark here. As I said, I couldn't really find any information on their website in terms of specifics on the team. Usually the coins that I've reviewed, the websites have been quite easy to follow. There's a bit about the team you can follow, the leaders, etc. But unless I'm missing something, and again guys, shout in the comments if I have, and then I can inform you guys in the next video. But I couldn't really find anything. As I said, it's driven by contribution work, so there's a lot of information, and on the contributors you can sort of see specifically who's contributing, but it's not a structured sort of process, so hence why I've got a question mark. And now, is there scope for gains? I've got a massive tick here again, and I think at the minute we might have more of a cooldown before we jump to more gains. However, I think at the minute it's been around since 2014. It's got more room for growth in my opinion. I think privacy is going to be big in 2018. I think it all comes down to whether it can deliver on its roadmap. We saw the Q4 roadmap, it was slightly behind, so I think it depends on whether it can keep up. But, and a massive but, this anonymous cryptocurrency space is becoming increasingly competitive. As I mentioned, we've got solutions already with Monero, Dash, ZCASH, PIVX already established, and with proper teams. So I think that's the big but, whether they can keep up, and it's the race for adoption and race for who can get there first. So I think it'll be an interesting race. Verge offers a good alternative, as I showed in my on the first page, with the exception of Monero. The other sort of alternatives aren't truly private, so whether that gives them a step ahead in terms of adoption and winning the race, we'll have to wait and see. So that's my quick video on Verge. Please let me know what you guys think on the comments section. As always, please like, subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you in the next video.